breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. We're going to chat with him about what he's all been noticing in the prop market. We'll talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Phillies. We did this before they got approximately one hit against the Milwaukee Brewers, but we'll chat about that. We'll take a look at the great slate of games that we've got for Saturday. Then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM. Name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a great day of baseball on Friday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some friends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Arizona Diamondbacks get the job done against the Cincinnati Reds. This by a count of 5-2. One of the few unders that we saw on Friday. As this, despite the fact that Eduardo Rodriguez had 5 walks in 2 2/3 innings, only lost 2 runs, one of which was earned. He did give up a home run to Neovalli Marte. The Marte Parte gets his first home run of the season. From there, the bullpen locks it down with 6 1/3 innings scoreless. Ryan Thompson 4 outs out the bullpen. Jonathan Loaiza gets scoreless inning. Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald, they give you scoreless 8th and 9th innings. And Taylor Clark, 2 shutout innings. Nick Lodolo, much better in this start. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, TJ Antone, 5 outs out the bullpen scoreless. Zachary Maxwell has scoreless inning. And then Brock and Roll Burke, well, he got Brock and rolled as Blake Dunn had an error out there in the field, so he gave up 3 unearned runs in that 9th inning. Diamondbacks leave 12 men on base, but they still get the job done. Also being able to get the job done, the Boston Red Sox, 10-1 an explosion against the Walker Texas Rangers as Jack Leiter gets latered up. 6 runs, 5 of which were earned over the course of 5 innings. He was taken deep in this game as it was home run number 14 of the season for Willis Contreras, and then Luis Carvalho gives up a home run to Ceddanne Rafaela, 7th home run season, while Abreu wilds out against Cal Quantrill for his 8th home run season. Quantrill gives up that home run in 2 innings of work. Carvalho, he gives up 3 runs in his inning work, and Sonny Gray, sunny day for him. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Taylor Guerrero, Danny Kalum, Tommy Kahnle, all in scoreless innings. For the Yankees, they fall to the Toronto Blue Jays by a count of 8-5. As for the Jays, you had Trey Savage. Well, he savagely gave up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings. Cody Bellinger took him deep, 10th home run of the campaign. From there, though, Mason Flaherty, Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers, and Louis Varlin, they all turned scoreless innings. And for the Yankees, Ryan Weathers tried to weather the storm, but he didn't. 6 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings as he was taken deep by Kazuma Okamoto. 14th home run season. George Springer is 6th. From there, Jake Bird gives a bird with giving up a run in an inning. Brent Hendrick, pair of outs out the bullpen squirrels. Camilo Duvall, Fernando Cruz, both on his squirrel setting, but too little too late there. And a team that just had very little, the Detroit Tigers. 3-2, they fall to the Cleveland Guardians as Captain Jack Flaherty has to leave after 3 innings due to injury, gives up 2 runs, and from there, the bullpen was actually pretty solid as you had Drew Anderson give up a run in an inning, but Ty Mann, 2 shutout innings. Jacob Waggy's pack along Drew Summers, they were both able to give you a shutout inning, but Tanner Bybee was on it. He gives up 2 hits over the course of 7 innings. Both of those hits, solo home runs. As for the Tigers, James Ellman, he was out, man. First home run of the season. Spencer Torkelson, his 11th, but from there, Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, they both turn a shutout inning. Not very often that you see 2 hits in a game, both be solo home runs for a team, but that's exactly what we got there. For the LA Dodgers, they were without Shohei Ohtani, and boy, was he missing. 8-2, the Chicago White Sox get the job done as Anthony Kay was more than okay in this start. Gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, you had Brian Hudson and Chris Murphy, both lined a scoreless setting. Trevor Richards, 2 shutout innings, and Roki Sasaki have been looking much better recently. This was a step back. 7 runs allowed over the course of 4 1/3 innings, taken deep by Andrew Benintendi. 7th home run season. From there, Blake Trinan, a pair of outs out of the bullpen. He gives up a run. Edgar Enriquez, scoreless setting, and Jonathan Hernandez, 2 shutout innings out of him. For the Milwaukee Brewers, how about Jacob Misiorowski? A 1-hit shutout, 6-0. The Brewers take down the Philadelphia Phillies. For Misiorowski, 95 pitches, 74 for strikes. Over 77% of his pitches were strikes. He had a 104.5 mile per hour fastball in this game. He had no walks as well with throwing that gas. And Tanner Banksy was the opener for the Philadelphia Phillies. He couldn't even give a shutout inning. He gave up 1 run in his inning work. And then Jake Bauers will go deep off of Andrew Painter. 13th home run of the campaign. He gives up 5 runs in 5 innings. Painter does. as do that from there. Chase Sugar, Tim Meza, both ended scoreless inning, but the Brewers now 42-25. Nice win for them, and then had a nice win for the Baltimore Orioles. 7-3, they take down the Salam Diego Padres. Griffin Canning gets absolutely canned. 5 walks, 7 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a pair of bombs. Gunnar Anderson, 14th home run season. Samuel Basayo, his 10th. From there, you had Wandy Peralta and David Morgan combined for 3 shutout innings, but too little too late as Shane Boz, the Wizard of Boz, gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned over the course of his 5 innings of work. But from there, Anthony Nunez, Keegan Aiken, Yanir Cano, and Andrew Kittredge, they're all able to turn scoreless innings. So the Orioles are trying to approach 500, and for the San Diego Padres down to 35-33 after a very nice start to the season. For them, the Miami Marlins, they're able to take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates. 8-3 the final is. Sandy Alcantara does give up 3 runs, but he fills 8 innings. They give up a pair of home runs. Brandon Lau gets loud his 17th home run season. Andy Rodriguez his 2nd, and for Braxton Ashcraft, wasn't amazing, but certainly wasn't bad. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and then the bullpen from there, they acted up. You had 2 1/3 innings from Antoine Kelly in his MLB debut. He does allow a home run to Liam Hicks, 13th home run season, gives up 2 runs in those 2 1/3 innings, and you had 4 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings by Wilber Dotel. So that was a little bit of an issue there. No issues for the Athletics late. 6-4, they take down the Rockies. Each out of the last 3 games out here in lovely Las Vegas have went under the total, by the way, as Gage got jumped a little bit in this game. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Bullpen was pretty solid, though. Justin Turner does a lot of solo home run in his inning of work, as it was home run number 2 for the young call-up, and his 2nd home run in a week, as that one goes to the young outfielder and Cole Carrig. But from there, you were able to get 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless from Hogan Harris, and Mason Bennett, he was able to come in for 1 2/3 innings scoreless as well. For the Rockies, it was a pretty wholesale approach here. Sean Sullivan, the opener, 3 shutout innings out of him. Jeff Criswell, he was able to give you scoreless inning, but then Seth Alverson, pair of solo home runs allowed. Shea Langolaires, Shea bangs his 18th home run season. Nick Kurtz, his 16th home run season. Zach Agnos from there, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 2 2/3 innings. Brandon Bernardino, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels, but the Athletics, they persevere. They get the job done there. Also being able to persevere, the New York Metropolitans, they're able to take down the Atlanta Braves, this by a count of 7-5, as for Spencer Strider, he simply did not have it in this game. He's been giving up the deep ball all season long, and he gave up a trio of bombs over the course of his 3 innings, 7 runs in total, as Juan Soto gets 15th home run season. Bo Bichette, nice game here, 7th and 8th home runs of the season. Really good long relief out of the young guy J.R. Ritchie, 5 shutout innings, but too little too late, even with Dolan McLean only lasting 4 innings in this game, gives up 2 runs. Cianel Perez gives up a home run to Matt Olson, 20th home run season. He went 1 1/3 innings. Oscar Brisbane, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Brooks Raley does go off the Rayleys, gives up a pair of runs in 2/3 of an inning, but Devin Williams starting to improve, 4 outs out of the bullpen. He was able to land that save, and being able to land a 10-2 win. How about the Seattle Mariners? Bryce Miller continues to be great for this team. Does give up a pair of solo home runs. Dylan Cruz, 3rd home run of the campaign. James Wood, Goodwood for his 19th home run of the season, but still a nice start there and much better than Zach Littell. He got 5 outs and he gave up 5 runs, all of which were earned, as for the Seattle Mariners, getting his 5th home run of the campaign. Colt Emerson, he has been very solid for this team. Dom Canzone a little bit later on out of Paxton Schultz, his 10th home run season, and Gus Varlin gives up home run number 8 to one Mr. Josh Naylor. For Paxton Schultz, he gives up a home run in his 2 innings of work. Gus Varlin, 1 inning, he gives up 1 run, and they had Riley Cornelio, hopefully I got that correct. He came in long relief to try to save the bullpen, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 1/3 innings, and then in the 9th inning for the Seattle Mariners, Michael Rucker was able to come in, and he was able to end a scoreless inning. And for the Angels, it's been all sorts of rough for them thus far this season, but they do not get roughed up here. They get the job done 4-3 over the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan gives up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings. Mason Engler from their really good long relief, 4 shutout innings, but too little too late, as Sam Aldigeri, the young gun, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 innings for the Angels. From there, Chase Silseth, shutout inning. Mitchell Ferris in long relief, 2 2/3 innings, gives up a run. Ryan Zefrian gets the final out of the game to be able to land that save, and for the Cubs, they are back to 2 games above 500, 5-1. They take down the San Francisco Giants. Landon Roop not long for this game, 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Michael Busch was able to get a home run a little bit later on off of Eric Miller. His 8th home run of the campaign. Miller gives up that home run in his 3rd of an inning of work. JT Brubaker, 2 shutout innings. Sam Hentges, Ryan Walker, both on his scoreless inning, but for the Giants, not much doing on offense, as Javier Assad continues to be solid here for the Cubs. 6 shutout innings out of him. Obi Milner from there, a shutout inning. Trent Thornton, he comes in for 2 innings, does give up a home run to Bryce Eldridge, his 2nd home run in 2 games. Not quite as dramatic as the one that he had before, but still 5th home run of the campaign. He's looking solid, and for the Minnesota Twins, solid one here. 9-8, they're able to come back from being down down 3 runs going into the bottom of the 7th inning to land this one. Byron Buxton was able to go deep early on off of Kyle Leahy, 21st home run of the season. Leahy gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. Joe Ryan gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. He was taken deep by Alec Burleson, 12th home run of the season. From there, the Twins bullpen tried to blow this game. Taylor Rogers, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning of work. Eric Gorze, 3rd of an inning, he gives up 2 runs. Andres Gomez gives up a run in a 3rd of an inning. Anthony Banda, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, and Andrew Morris was able to get a scoreless 9th inning. And for George Soriano, scoreless inning for him for the St. Louis Cardinals. But then Gordon Gaseffo, who's been solid all season long, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. And Ryan Stanek gives up 3 home runs in 1 1/3 innings. Going deep off of him, Royce Lewis, 5th home runs of the campaign. Cody Clements, his 10th, and Brooks Lee, his 11th. So that was rough for the Cardinals. And if you had the under in this Royals versus Houston Astros game, well, you didn't have to sweat this one very long because we had 14 runs in the first inning. 14! 10-8 is the final. Things calmed down very much after that first inning, but both pitchers get a pair of outs. Luinder Avila gives up 8 runs, including 2 home runs, as Yordan Alvarez took him deep twice, 23rd and 24th home runs this season. Actually, his second home run came in the first inning, but off of the reliever, Mason Black, who gave up that home run in 2 1/3 innings. The other home run was to Christian Walker, 17th home run of the season. And then a little bit later on, Bryce Matthews, 5th home run of the season off of Matt Strom, gives up a solo home run in his inning work, but the bullpen was honestly solid. Steven Cruz, 2 shutout innings. Lucas Ercich, 2 shutout innings. Eli Morgan, a scoreless inning out of the bullpen, but too little too late. And Tatsuya Mai, 5 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Bullpen from there did its job. Año de Los Santos does give up 3 runs in a 1/3 of an inning, but AJ Blubaugh, 2 innings of scoreless relief. Nate Pearson, 2 shutout innings. Stephen Okert, 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Brian King was the king of giving you a pair of outs scoreless, and Josh Hader, he was able to get his 2nd save of the season. He was able to turn a scoreless inning, and if you're taking a look at what we're all getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball right now, yeah, the overs have been very overwhelming here recently. If you look at the last 7 days, favorites on the money line are doing solid, 49 and 33. Among those 49 favorites, 37 covered the run line. The over rate is 56.1%, 46 overs, 36 unders, and 4 pushes along the way. And overall for the season, the over rate is up to 51.7%, 520 overs, 486 unders. And that serves me correct. We've had 34 pushes along the way, and favorites on the money line hitting at 55.6%, 558 and 446. And among those 558 favorites, 142 have failed to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends, Matt Joseph, aka Major Matt, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN family podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got our guy Matt Josephs, aka Major Matt, aboard. I know that he's doing an excellent job looking at the baseball front this time of year, looking at props and so much more. He does incredible work when it comes to college football and college basketball scene as well. He's over there at ESPN Radio in Richmond doing the show Border to Border. He's also doing great work with Ariel Epstein's Prop Queen website and Prop Queen podcast as well. Here, follow him on the old Twitter/X at Major Matt. All together, and Matt, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you as always for having me.
Always a pleasure, Matt. And Matt, man, it has been a wild first, we're going to call it about 2.5 months of the season. And has there been anything that has really been standing out to you in terms of prop front that has perhaps been a little bit unexpected this season?
Well, I mean, obviously, you look at some of the numbers from last year, and then you kind of extrapolate what you think is going to happen this year. And so, you know, some of the things that we saw last year in terms of who struck out a lot, we're not seeing that as much. One of the things that we've seen so far is when you look at the Colorado Rockies, you know, the Colorado Rockies have some high numbers when it comes to strikeouts, but in Coors Field, especially versus right-handed starting pitchers, there's been a lot of unders so far this season. So it's a Rockies team that, like usual, they don't hit as well away from Coors Field, but they're doing pretty well in terms of the contact when it comes to hitting pitchers at Coors Field.
Yep, and that has been interesting to take a look at. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the Colorado Rockies because they're currently in the series against the Athletics. Just how do you handicap games where they're playing in this ballpark out here in lovely Las Vegas, where the sample size as we are recording this, it is 3 games, going to be 4 games by the time this uploads. And I mean, there's just not a lot of ballpark data, but we do know that the ball is very much jumping out here in lovely Las Vegas.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things where, look, I'm staring at a 13 and a half. I'm staring at a 14 in some places. So there's a lot of runs expected. And with Kyle Freeland and Springs, you can expect a lot of home runs potentially. It's one of those things where you try and find one of those smaller markets to try and take advantage of it. I'll be interested to see what like DraftKings has for the over-under on home runs, because these are two pitchers who give up a lot of home runs, and you're in a ballpark where there could be a lot of home runs. So maybe you don't necessarily want to play the total, but you try and get a little creative, maybe with some player props in terms of homers, or how many each team are going to hit for this game.
Yeah, no question about it. It has been wild what we've been seeing out here in these games in Las Vegas. And of course, the game started by Jack Perkins was by far the lowest scoring game, as we do have our guy Matt Joseph, aka Mid-Major Matt, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And Matt, I know you're a bit of a Phillies guy, and they're back above 500. They're going to be facing off against the Brewers on Saturday, and I don't know how this happens. Every single time you're on, Matt, it feels like Aaron Nola is starting for the Philadelphia Phillies, and it feels like we've got the same opinion of Aaron Nola. Right now, he's about plus 110, plus 120 against the Brewers, total of 8, and I just still feel like the books have not been able to price Aaron Nola correctly. They give him too much credit, and this is going to be another fade spot for me.
Probably. I don't know too much about the lefty going for Milwaukee, but I see what Aaron Nola's done. And, Nola's had one or two bad innings in the last couple starts. He pitched pretty well against San Diego in back-to-back outings, which is always tough because when a team sees you 2 times in a row, they've got a lot of video on you. And then he kind of backed that up with a rough outing against the White Sox in which he had some rare control issues, 4 walks and 4 1/3 innings. He's certainly a guy I can't back. Now, this offense has gotten a little bit better. They're still struggling a little bit as a team when it comes to the offense, but this could be a spot where you look at the over. You just have to hope that the Phillies offense contributes a little bit here. But, I think we're going to see potentially some runs scored by Milwaukee, especially early in this game. Aaron Nola, he's a guy that used to nibble a lot on the corners. Well, with what we have now in terms of the umpire reviews and things like that, you're not going to be able to get away with some of those things. He's the guy that has been very rough the first time through the order and the second time through the order. So maybe even a Milwaukee first 5 team total over could be in play here, fading a starting pitcher who doesn't start out very well. He gets better as the game goes along.
Yeah, with Aaron Nola, I've noticed that as well. It's typically very, very rough in the first inning or two. If he can overcome the first time through the lineup, he actually gets better through the second time through the lineup. So that one I think is going to be a lot of fun. One thing that has been very interesting to me as well has been the entirety of the American League. And before we dive in on a few of those games, just what do you make out of this landscape in general? Because the Yankees and the Rays have had the top record out there in the American League, but now Aaron Judge is out of the fold for the Yankees. The Rays have had a lot of struggles. Guardians have been a pretty steady Eddie team, but it just feels like there's a lot of middling teams out there in the American League, and at some point, some of these teams have to win some games, and I think that being able to pick the team that is able to rise up the most could be very profitable, and it just feels like it's a very big roll of the dice because it seems like there's a lot of equal and no grade out there in the American League.
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of teams with strengths, and those same teams have weaknesses, and so like a team like Toronto, who's 9 out right now in the division, like Toronto's got a good lineup, and once they stay kind of healthy in the rotation, that might be a team you want to play on. I still somewhat believe in Baltimore. I feel like some of these guys who are not hitting right now will get better as the season goes along. That rotation still scares me a little bit. They can't seem to find the right guy in free agency, it feels like. But if they get hot, I feel like the Orioles are a team that could certainly play well. And then, of course, you look at some of the others. I mean, look, I don't think the Tigers are going to be very good. I think Detroit's going to struggle. And who knows, maybe that leads to a Tarek Skubal trade at some point during this season. But yeah, you're right. It's anybody's game. And this is where you could kind of find some value. Maybe you believe in the Astros a little bit. Maybe you believe if the Astros get healthy and that rotation gets a little bit better, you think that they can win that division and maybe win some games. But yeah, this is the time to find some value if you believe in anybody outside of New York and Tampa Bay.
Yep, absolutely. And it has been very interesting to take a look at this entire landscape, to say the least. And when it comes to what we've got on Saturday, a team that I think has a chance to be able to rise up is the Toronto Blue Jays. It should be Kevin Gausman going for them. I know that some betting boards read to be determined. Should be Kevin Gausman going against Cam Schlittler. Total is 7.5, and the Yankees are about minus 125. Want to get your thoughts here because Schlittler has been money in the bank all season long for the Yankees. But Kevin Gausman might not be like at peak strikeout mode or anything like that. He gets about 8 to 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's really been steady for a Blue Jays team that it feels like the pitching has been able to come along for the ride, but the offense has had some struggles, even though they don't really strike out.
Yeah, they don't really strike out. This is a team that still makes contact. Now, they're not as good as they were last year. Last year, they were pretty epic at times with regards to the contact. But it's funny because Gausman against the Yankees, there are guys you want to play on, there's guys you want to fade. Cody Bellinger is 2 for 27 with 9 strikeouts in his career against Kevin Gausman, but then Paul Goldschmidt is 10 of 22 with a homer in his career against Gausman. So it feels like there's guys in this lineup that see him really well. And you mentioned Cam. I mean, Cam is a guy that is just so good. Now, the strikeouts haven't been there as of late. His last 2 home starts, he had 5 strikeouts against Boston, 3 against Cleveland. He's already seen Toronto this season. He had 7 at home back on May 20th. But he's a guy that, with Toronto, we might see a little bit of a lower K-prop number, and maybe I'm interested in potentially taking the over. We've seen the really good pitchers fool Toronto a little bit, but so I'll be very interested to see what that strikeout number is for Cam coming up on Saturday.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to be intrigued as well because for the Blue Jays, they've done a nice job in terms of not striking out, but Cam Schwartler has just been a man possessed thus far this season, and you've got the same philosophy I typically do when it comes to guys coming off the injury list. Typically, you don't want to back them in that first start, and we've got a very notable player coming off the injury list. Tariq Skubal is going to be pitching for the Tigers, minus 150 favorite against the Guardians against Joey Cantillo. Want to get your thoughts here because obviously the name brand of Tariq Skubal is going to have a lot of people firing out on him, and certainly I think it's better than what the Tigers have been throwing out there the last few weeks, but still, this is a spot where I really want to see what Skubal does in his first outing, especially when you hear just bodies in the arm. That just doesn't sound good, and he came back much earlier than expected, which does have me have my question marks with regards to the start.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to look at his over. They remember last year he had 14 strikeouts against him. He had 13 strikeouts against him. I think he had 10. He had 9. Like, he racked them up against Cleveland. But this is where you have to kind of look at the manager's quotes and see if he says anything on Friday night about how long Tarek's going to go. You have to look at his minor league starts. How many times did he get up and how many times did he get down? This is a Skubal that at times didn't strike out a lot of guys so far in this early part of the season. So is he going to go out there and just try and get pitches over and just trying to kind of go through the motions a little bit? Or is it a guy who's going to be ready and in his A-level stuff? I usually don't think they're going to be in their A-level stuff by that first start. So I'll be interested to see. The number's too high. I might take the under on his strikeout prop, not watch the game, and just kind of hope that he's going through the motions. But, this is a Cleveland team he's had great numbers against in his career, especially last year. So it's going to be very hard to not have them strike out a lot against him again on Saturday.
Yep, it is going to be an interesting one, and there's a lot of, shall we say, unknown with him coming back so early from the injured list as well. So I'm going to be very curious to take a look at that one. And this is one that I'm curious on as well because the Rangers pitching has been great this year. The Rangers offense this year has been awful as well. We've got Jacob deGrom going up against Ranger Suarez, total of 8. Red Sox about minus 115, minus 120 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because strangely, the Red Sox are actually last in the league in terms of scoring at home, and they just have been a better road team than they've been a home team all season long.
Yeah, and this is a Texas team that strikes out a lot against lefties. They're averaging 6 strikeouts per game against left-handed starting pitchers. We saw Cantillo, who you just mentioned, he had 7. Detmers had 14 in his start against this Rangers team. Now, it's not the Ranger Suarez who used to strike out as many guys as he did in the past, and I think the diminished velocity is starting to catch up a little bit with him. But, I mean, he's had 6 and 10 his last 2 starts. Very interested to see what the number will be for Ranger Suarez and his strikeout prop. And of course, you're right. Jacob deGrom has been tremendous. And it's funny because, early in the season, the Red Sox used to be a K-prop over team because they just used to struggle time and time again with making contact. Now it's not the case. They've been a little bit more towards the under here as a team. They've actually gone under 36 times this season overall to 22 over. So what's the number here? Is deGrom's number too high? Do we dare look at it under with a guy as good as deGrom? But this is a Boston team that's making a lot more contact as of late.
Yep, they have been making more contact as of late, and Jarren Duran did have 9 home runs in the month of May as well, but man, it's been a very interesting ride for them, to say the least. And this one I think is interesting as well because we've got the Dodgers as no shock here, a big giant favorite against the White Sox with Sean Burke going up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Want to get your thoughts here because we talk about home and road splits, and I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but Yamamoto throughout his career has actually been significantly better away from home rather than at home. And for the White Sox, still feels like they're getting a little bit disrespected, even though through 65, 70 games of the season, they've been one of the more profitable teams in all of baseball.
Yeah, this is a team that's playing some good baseball right now. And granted, they're not the best and they've had some struggles. I'll be interested to see because Sean Burke probably will have an opener, I'm guessing. Beforehand, he's had an opener a couple times so far this season. Has he solved his walk issues? He's had 2 walks or more in 4 straight starts. He had 5 walks against the Phillies last time out. So that'll be something to watch for. You do not want to put men on base when it comes to LA because they've got lineup that is just going to get those guys in. And will Shohei play in this game? I don't know necessarily. He didn't play in Friday. He's not in the lineup in Friday. So will he play? That makes so much of a difference for this LA team when Shohei is in the lineup.
Oh, no question about it. Shohei Ohtani, one of the most incredible human beings on the face of planet Earth, in my opinion, what he's able to do for that team. So we'll see what the extent of that injury is going to be. And we've got ourselves a great slate on this Saturday. We've got all 30 teams in action, 1 or 2 off the board games, but we know a lot of what we're getting. Anything else that's really standing out to you?
What Griffin Jackson's number against the Angels is going to be interesting because the Angels strike out a ton. They are averaging 5.8 strikeouts per game against right-handed starting pitchers. And Griffin Jackson is a guy who has taken advantage of those matchups, and he's had plus matchups. Now, most of those have been at home. This one's on the road, so I don't know how he's going to handle here. But if I get a 3.5 or a 4.5 with him, I'm going to be looking potentially at the over because the Angels just don't make a lot of contact as a team. So that's one of the things I'll be looking at here. And then Cade Cavalli. I mean, Cade Cavalli has been improving tremendously so far for Washington. You've got a Seattle team far from home. You've got an afternoon game. Are there shadows in Nats Park? That could help Cade Cavalli a little bit here against the Seattle Mariners team. And now that, Seattle's not doing the back-to-back thing with Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo in these starts, we're starting to see both of them go a little bit longer in their games. As we speak, there's a little bit of a rain delay. How does that affect things for, Friday night and then going into Saturday? So that'll be a really interesting thing. But Cade Cavalli has been tremendous. He's got tremendous stuff. And then, look, Baltimore and San Diego with Trey Gibson and Randy Vasquez. Vasquez has not been striking out as many guys as he did earlier in the season. Can Baltimore take advantage of that with the more contact that they have against that guy? So that'll be a really interesting matchup at 4:05 in Camden Yards.
Yep, that will be a fun one. We've got ourselves some great baseball that's going to be going down. And for the Padres, you mentioned that game out there in Camden Yards. They have just been a rough offense this season in general, but really, really good bullpen. So should be a lot of fun on this Saturday. And Matt, I know you're doing a great job on so many different fronts. Obviously, this time you're doing a great job with baseball, but you're looking forward to the college football, college basketball seasons. As we know, the grind never stops. You do a great job there. You do a great job with all of your radio and podcast hosting as well, and so much more. So all the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
At Major Matt on Twitter, all my plays are posted and tracked in the Action Network app. There's no question as to what my record is. Certainly working on some college football. We had the Heisman Trophy winner last year in the preseason, so we're working on trying to find some sleepers and potential guys for the Heisman Trophy this coming season. And then, once July hits, then win totals and media days and all this fun stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to the college football season. But until then, it's all Major League Baseball.
Oh, it certainly is. And I know that Matt is doing such a great job day in and day out, looking at the board, finding winners in so many different markets. And every single time he joins me, learns such great insight. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Always great to be joined by our good friend Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, doing great work over at ESPN Radio in Richmond, the Prop Queen website, the podcast, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So a big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go to National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order. Any intra-league games, those will be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. Let's get things started with 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It's the Pirates. They walk the plank as they play at home against the Miami Marlins as sold to be determined on the bump for the Fish, and Bubba Chandler goes for the Buccos. One opener on this game, -130 on the Buccos, +110 on the Miami Marlins, and a total of 8.5 over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. Do like the over. I semi-total it at 8.7 as this should be a wholesale approach from the Miami Marlins. They're thinking that Lake Bakar, who's been mostly a long guy out of the bullpen, is probably going to be seeing some innings in this game, and then it's a little bit mix and match from there. And if you look at the Marlins bullpen overall this season, it's been solid with a 3.66 ERA. You look at the team's road ERA though, 5.14. That is in the bottom 8 in all of baseball, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Pirates. For the Pirates, I think that they should be closer to like a minus 157 favorite in this spot, because with Bakar, yeah, he's been able to go out there, give you a sub 350 ERA, but that said, what are you going to be able to get after that? You've got some of these other guys have just been floundering, like Calvin Fauché is about a 3.58 ERA. John King has been very solid in this bullpen, but someone like a Kay Gibson has over a 6 ERA. He's a little bit more of a long guy for the team. Pete Fairbanks, Andrew Nardi, they've been struggling in the bullpen as well. Pirates have certainly had some struggles with their bullpen as well. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez, has been messed with. He's been posting up an ERA above a 4. It's been mix and match with a lot of these guys. So Evan Sisk has been a nice find. He's been able to give the team a sub 3 ERA. Gregory Soto has been pretty solid this far this season, but we're starting to see a little bit of regression out of him. And the big issue that you do have with the Pittsburgh Pirates in this as well is that Bubba Chandler just has not been great with his command. He's got really good raw stuff. Right now, he's been posting up about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings as far this season, but closer to a 4.91 ERA. Fielding independent very much in line with that, because his walks per 9 rate hovering right around about 5.8, but you do have a Pirates team that's averaging about 5.7-ish runs per game at home. That's actually number 1 in all of baseball. They were held down a little bit yesterday, but still, you've been able to get great production out of Brandon Lau. He's gotten loud. He's been able to give you 17 home runs. They've been dealing with O'Neal Cruz, deal with a little bit of an injury, so that hurts the power a little bit, but you've got Nick Gonzalez sitting at 300. You've been able to have Spencer Horwitz along with Brian Reynolds, both be able to give you an on-base percentage hovering right around about 375 plus. Tyler Callahan, small sample size, he's been looking solid. Connor Griffin has been able to come along for the ride as well. And then for the Fish, this is a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, and just a little bit of a top-heavy team. You've had Otto Lopez along Xavier Edwards hit above a 300, and Liam Mix, double-figure amount of homers. He's up to 13 bombs, 355 on base, but these guys like Jacob Marcy, Owen Casey, Esteri Ruiz, they're all hitting at 220 or lower. Throwing there's Kyle Stowers, who's more towards the top lineup. He's really been struggling as well. Do think that the Marlins able to put up some runs here, so like the over, some I tell it at 8.7. For the Pirates, set them at a minus 157 in on their money line. 953 and 954 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are going to be on the road against the New York Mets. As for the Mets, this should be Sean Manaea in some form or capacity. We just don't know if he's going to be a bulk guy or the actual starter. Martin Perez is on the bump for Atlanta. Atlanta minus 102 to minus 110. Between a minus 110 to minus 116, that number on the Mets. So relative pick'em game total on this game, it is 8. Over is minus 120. The under is even. Seeing one straight 8.5 out there. The under is minus 120 and the over is even there. And I did somebody tell it at 8.3. Personally, would rather have an 8 to the over rather than an 8.5 to the under. We saw some nice explosive scoring from the Mets yesterday. It was still our bottom 7 team in terms of run creation, but it does feel like they're starting to get a little bit more out of Bo Bichette. He was able to give the team a pair of home runs yesterday. Now he and Marcus Semien still giving you less than a 300 on base. Both of these guys still a single-digit amount of homers this season, but that is a good sign for the team. Along Carson Benjai, week ago against the San Diego Padres, had a 5-hit game. He's been able to hit about a 260. It's been all about Juan Soto, though. 15 home runs, about a 370 on base. You do have Jacob Young, AJ Ewan, both giving you above a 330 on base, but has been a big giant mismatch with regards to this lineup, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be in on the Atlanta Braves on the money line. Set them at a minus 123 with having a bunch as scoring about 5.9 runs per game away from nobody else in all baseball. Don Smith continues to hit above a 290. He's been able to give you 13 plus home runs. Albies. He's been able to give you a double figure amount of bombs. He's up to a 340 on base. Matt Olson, 18 plus home runs. He's hitting at 270. Michael Harris is hitting at 300. You've got so many guys that will be able to come through for this team. Smith, actually a single digit amount of homers, but Michael Harris has the double figure amount of homers. But overall, 1 through 9 for this Atlanta Braves team. They're supplying in for this Braves bullpen. They've been number 1 in terms of ERA as well. You've got the Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd being able to give you a sub 2 ERA. Robert Suarez, Raciel Iglesias, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. Now Tyler Kinley's on the injury list, but DDA Fuentes has been able to find a home in the bullpen. He's been posting up a sub 250 ERA. Ronaldo Lopez gives you a little bit of length, and for the Mets, they do have a relatively solid bullpen. This should be a little bit more of a mix and match game with Sean Manaea, who does have a 5.02 ERA, but fielding dependent is significantly lower. He's given up about 1 home run per 9 innings, over 9.5 punch outs per 9. The issue has been the fact that he's given up about 3.6, 3.7 walks per 9 innings, but it's backed up by the likes of Austin Warren, Brooks Raley, Oscar Brisbane. These have all been guys give you a sub 275 ERA. Same goes for Luke Weaver. After a shaky start to the season, he's been solid. They've now got AJ Minter off the injury list, who has yet to give up a run. Devin Williams continues to be Devin Williams, but I do think that for Martin Perez, even though he does pitch quite a bit of contact, for Perez, he's only getting about 7.2 or so strikeouts per 9 innings. He's done a nice job holding down the 4.302 ERA. He's only been giving up about 3.2 walks, about a home run or so per 9 innings, and I think that he's going to be able to deliver just enough for the Braves to be able to get the job done here. But I think it's going to be a bit of a higher scoring game. Like the over, somebody told it at 8.3, with the Braves willing to lay up to minus 122 on the money line. 955, 956 on the card. The Arizona Diamondbacks on the road against the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati, and they are on to Rhett Lauder, making some noise for them, and Michael Soroka is on the bump for Arizona. Arizona does find themselves as a pretty good-sized favorite here, anywhere between minus 124 to a minus 142, and between plus 114 to a plus 125 is that number on Cincinnati. Total is 9, over and under, both at minus 110. For the Diamondbacks, set them at a minus 125. So that minus 124, that's my absolute max buy point here on the Diamondbacks on the money line, but I'm going to be one to lay it. I'm just still a big believer in Michael Soroka. I know that the ERA is not necessarily the world's greatest. He's had a few shaky starts recently, but I feel like he's pitched better than the 3.28 ERA would indicate. 306 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs per 9 innings allowed 2.1 walks per 9, about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Rhett Lauder, he does a nice job keeping things out in front of him. He's not going to give out a ton of walks or anything like that. Just doesn't get a lot of whiffs. 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he has been giving up a lot of walks recently. He's up to now 5 walks per 9 innings. Good news is only about 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. Came off the injury list and looked very solid in his last outing. It was only 3 innings, but 3 shutout innings against the St. Louis Cardinals, and you have to wonder how long he's going to be able to go in this game, because for the Reds, they're actually number 1 in all of baseball in terms of bullpen ERA in the first month of the season. Hard to believe that now, because they're now in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had all these guys like Tony Santillan, TJ Antone, Zachary Maxwell, Zach McCambley. Like, all these guys are giving you above a 3.50 ERA. They're getting Caleb Ferguson off the injury list. That should be able to help out a little bit. And Sam Mull is a sub-3 ERA guy that has dealt with a lot of injury throughout the season, but out here without Pierce Johnson as well. And for the Reds, it's a solid offense. They're in the top half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, even with Ellie De La Cruz out of the fold as cousin Sal Stewart. He's been your main guy, 350 on base, leads the league in terms of challenges won, by the way, and he's been able to give you 13 plus home runs. JJ Bleday's up to 10 home runs, about a 360 on base. Nathan Lowe's getting low. He's been able to give you 8 plus home runs. He's moving the line as well, but expected a little bit more out of Eugenio Suarez, who's only got 5 home runs, less than a 300 on base. And for the Diamondbacks, this is a top 12 team in terms of run creation away from him. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte along Corbin Carroll, 11 home runs apiece. Marte is hitting at 250. Need that on base to be a little bit higher, but Carroll's still giving you about a 375 on base. And then you've got the likes of Nolan Arenado, Geraldo Perdomo, along with a few others that are hitting between about a 235 to a 250. Lou James Grover is another one of those guys as well. And now they're getting Jordan Lawler off the injury list as well. He's been missing for much of the season. Ryan Waldschmidt has been pretty solid in terms of moving the line out there in the outfield as well. And for the Diamondbacks, the bullpen has been much better this year than it has been in the past. I still don't really trust in Paul Seaball, but these guys like Ryan Thompson, Jonathan Loaizaga, Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, you're getting sub 350 ERAs out of all these guys. Kevin Ginkel has been relatively solid as well. So I do think that the Diamondbacks find a way to get the job done. I do think that Lauder is able to keep things out in front of them. I think that we see a little bit of positivity with this Reds bullpen. So right now, seeing that total of 9 to 9.5, I'm in on the under, so I told it at 8.9. And for the Diamondbacks, one to lay up to minus 124 on the money line. 957, 958 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on there against the Milwaukee Brewers. You've got one Mr. Aaron Nola hoping to be super for the Phillies, and Shane Drone goes for the Brewers. The Brewers, mid-tier favorites here, anywhere between minus 132 to a minus 145, plus 118 to plus 130 is that number on the Phillies. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and I'm in on the over. I did set my total at an 8.3. I really like what I've seen out of Shane Drone. Yeah, he might not be able to give you the world's greatest amount of length because he did begin the season out of the bullpen, and he's still a little bit of a young buck here for the Brewers, but in a 3.11 ERA, fielding dependent of a 270, 8.8 strikeouts, 0.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he was able to go past 5 innings for the first time in his career in that start against the Colorado Rockies, so you do like to see that. And Aaron Nola, I just feel like the game has really started to pass him by. 5.86 ERA, giving up in that neighborhood about 1.5 home runs, 3 walks per 9 innings. It's just been a very shaky season out of him. In general, he's now given up 4 plus runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. While with the Brewers, they have been a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, that series out in lovely Las Vegas was able to help out those numbers a little bit, but they just do such a great job in terms of small balling you to death, being able to move the line, get on base, as you've been able to get a ton of production out of someone like a Bryce Terang, who's been able to give you a 400 on base. Now they've got Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio back in the fold, along with Andrew Vaughn. These are all guys that are hitting above a 275 for this unit as well, so you'll love to see what those guys have been able to provide. They did a nice job holding down the Phillies to one hit yesterday with regards to the bullpen as well. You just take a look at this well-rounded team, and for the Milwaukee Brewers, you've got so many guys that are going out there getting the job done. Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, Chad Patrick have been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Now Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, a little bit of shaky starts to the season, but both of those guys are rounding into form. And then you take a little bit of a look at the bottom of the line. If David Hamilton has been able to give you some good production as well, and for the Phillies, they're averaging about 3.7 runs per game away from home. That's a bottom 3 mark in all of baseball. Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper have had to carry the mail for the team. Both of these guys between a 355 to a 375 on base. For Schwarber, 24 home runs this season. He's on pace for over 55 bombs. For Bryce Harper, 14 home runs. But what are you getting out of the infield? The entire catcher spot. Trey Turner down for what? Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm. All these guys are hitting at 228 or lower. All these guys below a 285 on base with no power. For Adolis Garcia has been as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop, like Brandon Marsh, but that said, it's a little bit of an issue. And for the Phillies, it's a ho-hum bullpen, because you've got two guys I really like, Yohan Duran along with Ryan Kirkering, both giving you a sub 250 ERA, but that said, Jose Alvarado says that drug suspension has not been himself. Brad Keller's been a little bit up and down. Jonathan Bolin posting up over a 4 ERA, so do think that the Brewers, they are going to be able to go out there, get the job done here, like them on the money line, set them at a minus 161, and do think that the Phillies get more than the one hit that they did yesterday. I'm in on the over. I did somebody total at 8.3. 959, 960 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Giants. Trevor Old McDonald is on the bump for the Giants, and Ben Brown goes for the Cubs. The Cubs are a mid-tier favorite here of anywhere between a minus 115 to a minus 128, anywhere between plus 105 to a plus 115. Then over on San Francisco, 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 8, under is minus 115. The over is minus 105, and on the 7.5, over is minus 120. Under is even money. For the Cubs, set them at a minus 136. I like them on the money line. For the Cubs, it's been very rough for them. The situational hitting has been suspect, and that's about as polite as I can put it. But Ben Brown has been a bright spot for the team. 174 ERA, 224 fielding independent, 0.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's given up one bomb in 57 innings, 9.2 strikeouts, 2.5 walks per 9 innings. Has given up a combined 2 runs in his last 3 starts. This guy's a real deal. And for Trevor Old McDonald, I do think that he's going to be able to go out there, give you a relatively good outing. Is he a guy that's going to completely blow you away? No, but he's pitched better than the 4.15 ERA would indicate. About 351 fielding dependent, 8.5 strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, while allowing about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. And while the Cubs overall are in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, again, when you just watch this team with your own 2 eyes, they are robbing themselves at the plate of being able to drive in runs. Like, you got so many guys that are between, I would call it about a 315 to a 340 on base. I think that's a fair way of putting it. Like, Ian Happ is a little bit above that with 15 home runs, but he's only hitting like a 230. And then you've got the likes of Seiya Suzuki, Nico Horner, Moises Ballesteros, guys like this. Like Carson Kelly, he's been your best on base guy. He's been able to do a nice job, give you over 350 on base, but he's been a little bit in and out of the lineup. And then Dansby Swanson, he's got 7 home runs, but he's hitting $178. You need a little bit more there. For the Giants, they have been able to rise up a little bit with their offense, but they're still in one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. They're 25th in terms of run creation at home, even with that big comeback against the Nationals a few days ago. Casey Schmidt, it's been your main man, 15 home runs, 275 on base. You're getting a little bit more out of Rafael Devers, Willie Adames, a combined 20 home runs out of these 2 guys, but both are below a 300 with regards to on base. Matt Chapman now up to 6 home runs. He's had himself a nice tear over the last few weeks, so you like to be able to see that. Daniel Susich, he's been able to lie in the catcher spot as Luis Arias, Jungle Lee. These are guys hitting above a 300, and for the Giants, it's been a ho-hum bullpen. They're right around about league average in terms of their ERA. You have seen Caleb Killian start to hit the toilet bowl a little bit, but after Eric Miller was a little bit shaky last year, he's been able to give you some relatively solid innings. I really like what I saw out of Matt Gage. He's been dealing with a little bit of injury, but he's been a guy that's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. JT Brubaker, about a 320 ERA. Keaton Wynn, about a 325. So these guys have been solid. And for the Cubs, this is a top 12 team in terms of bullpen ERA, elevated a little bit with that series out there at Coors Field, but that's a Daniel Palencia, has been a sub-225 ERA guy. Ethan Roberts, he's been lucky with inheriting men on base to be able to keep his ERA low, but he's still been solid. He and Ryan Rolston, both below a 250 ERA as well. You've got Hobie Milner, who's starting to toilet bowl a little bit. He's up to about a 4 ERA, but I like what I'm seeing out of Jacob Webb. So, interesting circumstance. Think that you get a lower scoring game, so by total 7.4. Like the under for the Cubs, one delay up to minus 135 on the money line. 961, 962 on the card. It is the Yankees. They are going to be on the road against the Blue Jays as Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. This should be Kevin Gausman going for the Blue Jays. Right now it's listed as to be determined, but it's priced as if it's going to be Gausman. The Yankees minus 125 to minus 130 favorites. Actually seeing a minus 115 out there as well. Plus 105 to plus 110. That number on Toronto, 7.5 is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And on the Yankees, set them at a minus 138 for Cam Schlittler. This guy's just went out there and time again, he has been absolutely dominant. Right now for Schlittler, 187 ERA, 211 field dependent, 9.8 strikeouts, so 1.5 walks per 9 innings, less than half home run allowed per 9 innings. And for the Blue Jays, we mentioned it with Mid-Major Matt. They're doing a good job in terms of not striking out. Top 3 team in terms of fewest strikeouts on a per at-bat basis, but there's just not a lot of power with this team. Vlad Guerrero Jr. entered into yesterday with 3 home runs this far this season. Now, he's hitting about a 280. Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes, Hendrik Pinago, all these guys are hitting a 275 plus, so they're moving the line. Even Dalton Varsho has been able to give you over 330 on base. Kazuma Okamoto, though, has had to be the main man with regards to power. 14 home runs. Nobody else is really giving you 8 plus home runs. Now, they get back, don't call his name. Alejandro Kirky and Brandon Valenzuela have been presentable at the catcher spot, but on the flip side for the Yankees, what are you going to be able to get offensively out of this team moving forward? They looked pretty solid yesterday. Paul Goldschmidt, I think, is going to be able to help out this team. Over at 360 on base, he's been able to give you 8 plus home runs, and then Ben Rice in his emergence, 18 plus home runs, 390 on base. They're set up better to be able to overcome an Aaron Judge injury than they have been in past years, but they still need more out of the infield. Jazz Chisholm only hitting about a 235. Ryan McMahon, the entire catcher spot. Anthony Volpe, a lot of guys hitting at 225 or lower. They've been mixing and matching out there in the outfield. Trent Grisham has been much better here over the last few weeks, but still overall for the season hitting at 235 with a single-digit amount of homers for the Yankees. Your main 2 guys in the bullpen, David Bednar has pooped the Bednar, along with Camilo Duvall, both above a 375 ERA, but that said, the likes of Brent Hendrick, Fernando Cruz, they've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. You've had a long guy in Paul Blackburn be solid. Jake Bird, really don't have a lot of faith in he and Tim Hill, 2 veterans. And for the Blue Jays, it's a very up and down bullpen themselves, as you've had Uriel Rodriguez come off the injury list and stink. Jeff Hoffman well above a 4 ERA, but your main 3 guys, Heather Rogers, Braden Fisher, Louis Varland, they've been able to give you a sub-275 ERA, and I do think that Kevin Gausman going to be able to go out there, give you a good start here. For Kevin Gausman, maybe he's not getting as many strikeouts as he has in the past, but he has still been rock solid with a 360 ERA. That's, in my opinion, a bit better than that with a 315 fielding dependent. 1 home run allowed per 9 innings with about 1.6 walks per 9 innings. So I think they get lower scoring games. I might tell 6.9, like the under for the Yankees. 1 to lay to minus 137 on the money line. 963, 964 on the card. It is the Tigers. They are going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians as Joey Cantillo goes for the Guardians. Tariq Skubal is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit is a favorite here of anywhere between minus 138 to a minus 156, plus 124 to a plus 135. Is that number on Cleveland? 8 is the total, over and under both at minus 110. I'm going to bank on the under. I did set my total at a 7.6 down for Tariq Skubal. This is his first MLB start since having bodies taken out of his arm. That's typically something that sounds very, very weird. He came back much earlier than expected. I know that they came up with some surgery to allow him to be able to come back very early. And for Skubal, when he was out there in the month of April, was rocking and rolling as he typically does. 270 ERA, which is actually up for him, but the fielding dependent was at pretty much career low at a 211, 0.4 home runs, 1.2 walks per 9 innings. But how deep is he going to be able to go in this game? This is going to be his first MLB start in about 45 or so days. And for Joey Cantillo, swing and miss stuff has been a little bit down from last season, down to about 8.5 strikeouts, 4.8 walks per 9 innings. So he's got a 457 ERA, 501 fielding dependent, but should benefit from the fact that he faces off against the Tigers team that, albeit they're healthier than they have been over the last few weeks, but they've been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation thus far this season. Have guys that are moving the line. Gleyber Torres, Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green. All these guys give you at least a 385 on base, all hitting at least a 276. But where's the power? Spencer Torkelson, he's now up to 11 home runs, but he's hitting about a 215. And then you've had Dylan Dingler give you 15 plus home runs. But Gary Carpenter, he's coming off the injury list. He needs to find it a little bit more. They got a home run out of James Outman yesterday. He's been a prospect that everyone's been banking on. And boy, has he just been a big giant turd for many, many different organizations. But yay, verily there. And then on the flip side for Guardians, they continue to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. You just expect more out of Jose Ramirez. 9 to 10 home runs and a 340 on base. That's just not up to standard for him. While Reese Hoskins has a 337 on base, hitting a $190, single-digit amount of homers. Kyle Manzardo, about a 325 on base, single-digit amount of homers. Patrick Bailey has been useless. Stephen Kwan's hitting at 220, but Brian Rocchio, 357 on base. Ano Martinez, double-figure amount of homers. Chase DeLauder, 335 on base. And for the Guardians, they're rounding into form with this bullpen. Cade Smith, 22 saves. He's down below a 275 ERA. Hunter Gaddis' ERA is right now about a 4, but he's been much better here recently. You've had Tim Herron be able to give you sub-350 ERA. Sean Armstrong has been solid as well. And for the Detroit Detroit Tigers, they really had to mix and match yesterday after Jack Flaherty left the start early. So they are a very, very taxed bullpen, especially with Bert Smith being on the injury list. Drew Anderson over a 350 ERA. Will Vest has been a disaster for the team. They finally get back Kenley Jansen. I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or not. So with the Guardians, set them to plus 129. So plus 130 or better. Like the money line. I like the under. Somebody told 7.6. 965, 966 on the card. It's a Red Sox. They're going to be playing us to the Rangers as Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Boston Red Sox, facing off against the Rangers, they are between even money to plus 102. The team that Ranger is pitching for, the Red Sox, minus 110 to minus 122 favorites. Total is 8, over and under both at minus 110, and I like the Rangers here on the money line. Set them at a minus 114. The lone issue Jacob deGrom has had this year has been, ironically enough, the deep ball. He's been giving up about 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but even with giving up those home runs, he's still been able to limit damage, and he's posting up a relatively solid 3.180 ERA because he's not walking guys. He's getting about 10.7 strikeouts to 1.9 walks per 9 innings, and he should benefit from this matchup. Now, the Red Sox were able to go into inferno mode with their lineup yesterday, going out for 10 runs, but going into the game yesterday, 3.3 runs per game at home, dead stinking last in all baseball. And you do have guys that are moving the line for the Red Sox. Wilson Contreras has been your main man in terms of the power, 14 home runs, about a 390 on base, but then you've got the likes of Isaiah Kinera-Falef, Sadan Rafael, Masataka Yoshida, Mickey Gasper, a lot of guys between about a 330 to a 345 on base, but not a lot of power. Entered into yesterday, dead last in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Caleb Durbin finally hitting above the middle line of 200, but he's only giving me about a 260 on base. Have had a lot of struggles out there in the infield, and for the Rangers, they themselves are a team that is in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. They get Wyatt Langford and Corey Seager off the injury list, and Seager had a home run a few days ago, but Langford just has not put it together at the big league level ever. You've got Brandon Nimmo, though, moving line about a 330 on base, and Jock Peterson, after that terrible year last year, 350 on base, he's been up to about 8 home runs, and for the Rangers, they themselves have been dealing with some power issues. You've got Jake Berger up to a double-figure amount of homers, but less than a 300 on base. The catcher spot has been a little bit rough in terms of being able to develop offense, or looking to Nicky Lopez to be able to give them a little bit of something. I do like Ezekiel Duran, though. He's been able to hit about a 300, and then for the Rangers and the Red Sox, both of these bullpens have been beastly. Top 5 teams in terms of bullpen ERA entering into the series. For the Rangers, it's all about the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Lyons giving you a sub-3 ERA, Tyler Alexander, sub-350 ERA. You've been able to have even someone like a Gavin Collier be able to give you some good innings, and on the flip side for the Red Sox, they are dealing with some injuries, but now they've got Garrett Woodlock back, who's been able to be very solid as a long guy over the last few seasons. Greg Weisert had a miserable start to the season. Same for Danny Kalum. Kalum coming off the injury list. He should be able to give the team a little bit more. Weisert back down below a 390 with his ERA, and obviously Aroldis Chapman has been all sorts of incredible, but for the Red Sox, Ranger Suarez, you have to figure that he's going to do a nice job holding down the fort, and that's a big reason why I really do like this total to the under. Recognize that the Red Sox should be able to heat up a little bit with their lineup, but set it at 7.1 because I do think that Suarez goes out there, gives you a good start, 3.180 ERA, 293 fielding dependent. He's only giving up about 0.6 home runs to 2.6 walks per 9 innings. So I do think that this is a low-scoring game. Do favor the Rangers to be able to get the job done, though. Set them at a minus 114 in on that money line, and then on the under side, I told 7.1, 967, 968 on the card. The Royals are going to be playing us to the Astros. Mike Burrows is on the bump for the Astros, and you've got Noah Cameron on the bump for the Royals. The Royals do find themselves as a mid-tier favorite here. You're going to be laying between minus 115 to minus 129 with them. Between plus 105 to plus 110 is that number on Houston. 9 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even. 6 from 9.5 as well. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. Over is between even and minus 105, and I'm all aboard the Royals here. Set them at a minus 146. For Noah Cameron, he's actually pitched much better than the ERA would indicate because he's doing a nice job not allowing the ball to leave the yard. As for Noah Cameron, the ERA overall for the season is about a 384, but fielding independence 315, 0.8 home runs, 2.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, and for the Royals, they don't back them up with a very good bullpen. Both of these teams are currently in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of ERA, and both of these bullpens are so taxed after yesterday. Neither starter made it out of the first inning. So for the Royals, you've got a lot of guys like Lucas Ursage, Steven Cruz, who have been posting up an ERA well north of a 5. You do have a few trustworthy guys like Daniel Lynch has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Same goes for John Schreiber, and for the Astros, they've got Josh Hader back, Año de los Santos, along with Brian King, they've been able to give you a sub 3.35 ERA. AJ Blueball, they had to use him up yesterday, but he's actually been improving a little bit. They had to burn up Steven Oker yesterday as well. And for the Astros, right now it's all about Yordan Alvarez along Christian Walker. Alvarez had 6 RBI in the first inning yesterday. Like, for Alvarez, 24 home runs this season, 434 on base. He's been beastly. Christian Walker, he's up to 17 home runs, and he's been able to do a nice job, move the line. He's hitting about a 250 or so. Now you've got Jeremy Pena, not giving you a lot of power, but a 360 on base. Jose Altuve back in the fold, but you need more towards the bottom of the lineup. The likes of Cam Smith, along with Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole. These have been guys hitting at 235 or lower. Bryce Matthews has had some issues as well. And then for the Royals, this has been a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation. So yesterday's outburst was big for them. Vinny Pasquantino, though, still a single-digit amount of homers, only about a 310 on base. Salvador Perez, he's hitting at 200, and he's been able to give you 9 to 10 home runs, but at 247 on base, that's just not cutting it. And we've got a lot of guys like Isaac Collins and company that have been aiming at 230 or lower, but Bobby Witt Jr. continues to give you a 350 on base. Cameron Misner, a little bit of a young guy. He's been able to give the team a little bit of, shall we say, life as well. And I do think that Carter Jensen getting around into a little bit of better form, and Mike Burrows is just a guy that you can't trust in, especially with such tired bullpens. 577 ERA, 2.1 home runs, 3.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. So I do think that the Royals should be able to get the job done here, and I do think that Noah Cameron going to be able to lend some length. I did set my total at a 9.1. Personally, I would rather take a shot on the 9 over rather than a 9 after the under, because we have seen so much bullpen use from yesterday. So in on the over, and the Royals on the money line up to a minus 145, 969, 970 on the card. It's the Rays. They're going to be on the road against the LA Angels as Griffin Jacks gets jacked up for the Rays. Right now it's listed as to be determined for the Angels, but we're thinking that Jose Soriano should get the start. Right now the Rays on the opening line over at FanDuel, minus 112, minus 104 on the Angels. Total is 8, over and under both at minus 110. They're clearly thinking that Soriano is going to pitch in this game, because other than he, along with Reed Detmers, nobody else is really competent in terms of who might be starting here for the Angels. And assuming that we do get Jose Soriano, I'm going to be in on the Tampa Bay Rays. I set them at a minus 121, and the biggest reason why, you take a look at the career splits of Jose Soriano and the fact that he's also been issuing a lot more walks as well, and that does have me a little bit more bearish here, because overall for the season, Soriano's been rock solid. 296 ERA, does have a higher 398 fielding dependent, 1 home run allowed per 9 innings, but 9.5 strikeouts, 4.4 walks per 9 innings, but this is a career split for Jose Soriano. So this is not just like 1 year or anything like that. This has been ever since he got called up to the big league level. Career ERA of a 3 away from home, and career ERA of a 4.58 at home. So, I mean, some big giant divides there. And for Griffin Jacks, he's been much better as a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. Coming out of the bullpen, Griffin Jacks was a total nightmare. He was giving up 3 home runs per 9 innings and posting up an ERA of an 8. Now, I recognize it was a little bit of a small sample size, but he was really struggling there, and not saying he's lit the world on fire as a starter, but as a starter, he's giving up closer to about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, a 3 ERA, so he's been able to round into better form there. Overall for the season, Jack's a 4.15 ERA. He's giving up about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, but he does go up against an Angels team that has been a bottom 5 unit in terms of run creation at home. For the Angels, obviously, you've got Mike Trout give you over 375 on base, 14 home runs, and Zach Neto, double-figure amount of homers, 335 on base out of him, and Joe Adell, while he has been able to now be able to give you 10 home runs, he's hitting about a 240, less than a 295 on base. Trey Boom Boom Mancini has actually looked pretty solid since coming back to the league. That's a great story. He and Nick Madrigal both hitting above 300. These are older guys I think are going to be, shall we say, regressing from their hot start. Same goes for Jose Siri. And then on the flip side for the Tampa Bay Rays, you've had Yandy Diaz, Junior Caminero, Jonathan Aranda, all give you at least a 370 on base. For Diaz, 13 plus home runs. Aranda's up to 11 home runs. You've got Caminero give you 14 plus bombs. And then you've got some of these other guys like Ben Williamson giving you like 333 on base. Nick Fortes is moving the line. Ryan Velde, he's been hitting at 300, and for the Rays, they just have such a better bullpen than the Angels. Now, I do recognize that Garrett Clevenger has been shaky. He dealt with injury throughout much of the season. Same goes for Cole Sulzer, but the likes of Kevin Kelly along with Brian Baker have been able to give you sub 325 ERA. They've done a nice job mixing and matching there. And then for the Angels, Chase Silseth, along with Sam Bachman, have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but like so Brent Suter, Ryan Zephyrian, Kirby Yates, you've got a lot of guys that are posting up an ERA above a 4. It's been so bad for the bullpen that they've had to throw out there guys like an Alec Manoah, and I do think that the Rays, they do find a way to be able to get the job done here, and I do think that they get to Soriano a little bit. So, like the over sub, I told it at 8.1. For the Rays, we'll only to minus 120 on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road facing off against the Twins, as Connor Prelip is on the bump for the Twins, and Matthew Liberatore is on the bump for the the Cardinals. Cardinals do find themselves in a relative pick'em game. They're a slim underdog between even money to minus 105, anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 118. That's your number on Minnesota. 8.5 to 9 is the total. On the 9, under is minus 120. The over is even. On the 8.5, over is minus 120. Under is even. Pretty much all but one book has 8.5, so I'm going to be taking a shot on the over. I did set my total at an 8.8. Now, the Cardinals have actually been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation since May 1st, but they've been able to do most of their damage away from home. Right now, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they're a top 6 team in terms of run creation away from home with about 5 runs per game. That goes down to about 4.1 runs per game at home, man. You've had Jordan Walker be one of the better hitters in all of baseball. He's sitting at 300. He's been able to give you 15-plus home runs. You need a little bit more of some of these guys at the bottom of the lineup. Victor Scott, Thomas Segesi, guys like this, Pedro Baez. They haven't necessarily been amazing, but that said, you got plenty of guys that still move the line. Walker, I mentioned before, J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar, all between about a 340 to a 360 on base, and then Von Herrera about a 390 on base. Byron Buxton just continues to mash on the flip side for the Twins. He is up to 21 home runs thus far this season, and then Cody Clemens has been able to give you a little bit more. He gives you a few bombs. He's been able to give you about a 315 on base. Royce Lewis has looked better since getting recalled from the minors. He had a massively bad start to the season, but I mean, Brooks Lee, Luke Shaw, not necessarily a ton of power of these guys. They're hitting about a 245 apiece, so you need a little bit more there, and the Twins just have such a horrific bullpen that it's not even funny. Cody Funderburk has been able to give you a sub 425 ERA. Yip-de-doo there, but Andrew Morris, Anthony Banda, Taylor Rogers, Travis Adams, you've got so many guys that are posting up an ERA above a 4 that's not even funny, and for the Cardinals, they've rounded into a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA, which, considering they were awful the first 6 weeks of the season in that bullpen, that's actually quite a bit of something. You still have the likes of Ryan Stanek, Justin Brule, posting up an ERA above a 425, but I the likes of Goran Gaseffo, Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien, George Soriano, they've been able to give you a sub 335 ERA to round into form, so I do think that for the Cardinals, they're going to be able to do an okay job of holding their own here, even against a guy in Connor Prelip, who I like what he's been able to do this far this season for the Twins. That's a big reason why I set this money line price at a minus 109. So I'm going to be looking for the Cardinals to become a little bit more of a plus money underdog, and I do plan on being able to take a shot on the Cardinals in some form or capacity. Right now, I'm seeing that more around about even money or so. We're going to need a few cents of line movement, but do think that we're going to get it when it's all said and done. And when it comes to Mr. Connor Prelip, he has been posting up an ERA of a 5.15, but the fielding dependent has been much better. 342 fielding dependent, 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he does give up the 3.7 walks per 9. So if we could get that plus money on the Cardinals, I'm going to be willing to dive in there. And we do need plus money because for Matthew Liberatore, he's been having his issues as well this far this season. Has never really been a supreme swing and miss guy, and we have seen the command really go downward a little bit for him as well. 448 ERA, closer to about a 459 fielding dependent, 1.5 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings with about 8.3 strikeouts per 9. So if we get down to the Twins being like a minus 105, I'd be willing to take a shot there. I set the Twins at a minus 109, plus 110 or better. I'm going to be in on the Cardinals and like this over, so I told it at 8.8. 973, 974 on the card. The Orioles are going to be playing against the Padres. Randy Vasquez goes for the Pads. Trey Gibson is on the bump for the Orioles, and you've got a total here of a 9.5 with the over having juice of anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 115, unders between minus 105 to a minus 110, minus 130 to minus 135, seeing a minus 121 out there as well on the Baltimore Orioles is what you're getting there, and between plus 110 to a plus 120, that number on the San Diego Padres, and I set my number at a plus 117 on the Padres. So seeing that plus 121 out there, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. For Randy Vasquez, he's not a guy that's going to light up the radar gun or anything like that. And he has been starting to give up a little bit more hard contact, but overall he's been presentable for this team. 363 ERA, 444 fielding dependent, 1.3 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, while getting about 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And Trey Gibson, you want to talk about guys that are pitching to contact, my goodness gracious. Like, he's got a 424 ERA, and he does a pretty solid job in terms of being able to induce soft contact. He's only giving up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, but 2.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's gotten 5 strikeouts in 17 innings thus far this season. You do take a look at the minor league level, and, well, he's been getting more strikeouts at the minor league level thus far this season, but I mean, even there, he's only getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings with AAA Norfolk, so I do think that it's going to be going northward, but I don't know how northward it's going to be going for the Orioles. This has been a top 7 unit in terms of run creation at home. They're having about 5 runs per game at home. You need a bit more on base out of Gunnar Henderson, who's been able to give you 14 home runs, but a 293 on base, but that's been improving. And then you got Taylor Ward, only 3 home runs this season, but he's up to about a 410 on base. Ellie Rushman, Samuel Basayo, these are a pair of guys hitting at 255 plus, giving you solid power. Now you need more of Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Mayo. They're both hitting below the Bedose line of 200. Colton Cowser's been a little bit better recently, still hitting about a 225. Jackson Holliday's been a little bit shaky, but all of a sudden Pete Alonso, double figure amount of homers, 330 on base. He's starting to live up to that contract. Flip side for the San Diego Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr. has been really one of your main guys to be able to get on base. 245 on base, still only 2 home runs this season, but 2 more than what he had a few weeks ago. Ty France has been able to get on. He's been hitting about a 260, but other than those 2 guys, among guys I've seen at least like 40 at-bats this season, they're like the only 2 guys who are hitting above a 245 going into yesterday. Manny Machado, double-figure amount of homers, but he's hitting like a 175. You've got Ramon Laureano out for the entirety of the season. Jackson Merrill has not been able to hit for this team, so that's been a nightmare. But what you've got for the Padres, a really, really good bullpen. They're a top 6 team in terms of bullpenning rate. Yuki Matsui has had a little bit of a rough go of it recently, but Jason Adam, Mason Miller, both of these guys still give you a sub-2 ERA. Wandy Peralta, along with Matsui, still give you a sub-3 ERAs as well. Even a guy like Aron Marinaccio has been solid. Adrian Morejones had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but much better than what you're getting out of this Baltimore Orioles bullpen, where you've got Yunier Cano along with Uncle Rico Garcia, who have really been the main 2 men for this team, with Garcia still giving you a sub-250 ERA along Cano. But that said, you've got these guys that have come off the injury list, like Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken, supplying an ERA well above a 5. Anthony Nunez has not been too reliable. Grant Wolfram, about a 4.25 ERA as well. So you've got your issues there. So I do think that the Padres starting to lend a little bit of value against a very much pitcher contact guy in Gibson. So I do like the under, so I might total it at 8.8, and I'm going to be willing to take plus 118 or better on the Padres money line. 975, 976 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Nationals. Kay Cavalli goes for the Nationals. Luis Castillo is on the bump for the Seattle Mariners, and with the Mariners, you're finding them at about a pick-em price, anywhere between even money to minus 110, between minus 108 to a minus 118 is that number on Washington. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 9. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And for the Mariners, I did set them at a plus 132. I just still don't trust in Luis Castillo too much. He's been a little bit better here recently. He was piggybacking off Bryce Miller for quite some time, but for Castillo, it's very clear that he's having a little bit of a tough time giving up hard contact. 5.16 ERA. He's been giving up 1.2 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings this season, and his home runs per 9 rate it feels like it's went up and up and up over the years as well. And for Kate Cavalli, he's been pitching much better than what his ERA would indicate. Right now, it's a 3.88 ERA, but closer to a 3.36 fielding dependent. He's only giving up 0.6 home runs to 3.2 walks per 9 innings with 9.8 strikeouts per 9. Now, the one thing that's going to be a disadvantage for the Washington Nationals should come as no surprise. It's the bullpen, because things just did not work out with Senel Perez this season. I like what Brad Lord is able to bring to the table. He's been able to give you a sub-325 ERA along with Richard Dickey Lovelady, but Mitchell Parker has been posting up an ERA that's well above a 450. They're looking to a lot of mix and match long guys. They got no length whatsoever out of Zach Littell yesterday, so that's a big giant issue for the team. But we also have for the Nationals a lineup that is just absolutely raking. Top 2 team in terms of run creation. James Goodwood with a 410 on base. He's up to 19 home runs. CJ Abrams over a 375 on base. He's been able to supply 14 home runs, and a lot of guys are coming along for the ride. It's never really happened for Dylan Cruz quite yet, but Dallin Lyles hitting about a 265. Curtis Mead is up to 9 plus home runs, about a 345 on base. Luis Garcia and Keibert Ruiz, they don't really draw walks, but they're hitting above a 260. Flip side for the Seattle Mariners, entered in this series in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Cole Emerson, though, has given them a nice boost. He had a home run yesterday. He's been able to give you about a 320 on base. Woody Rodriguez, Luke Raley, both have been able to give you 13 plus home runs, both hitting about a 250 to 260. Randy Arozarena, not as much power this year, but 375 on base. Colton Young has been able to about a 255 as well. And then for this Mariners bullpen, they've been dealing with a little bit of injury. I know that they currently have Cooper Criswell along with Matt Brash on the injury list, but that said, Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizardo, Gabe Spire, got all these guys give you a sub-3 ERA. Andres Munoz has been a little bit shaky this year, but feels like he's starting around into form as well. But that said, I do think that the Nationals do a nice job getting to Castillo, and they find a way to be able to get the job done here. I did set my total at an 8.9. Right now, I'm mostly seeing out there a lot of 8.5s. I'm going to be taking a shot on that 8.5 over. And for the Nationals, like the money line, to set them at a minus 132. 977, 978 on the card. It's the Dodgers. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox. As Sean Burke goes for the Southsiders, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the bump for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers find themselves as Mondo favorites here, anywhere between minus $2 to minus 210. Meanwhile, plus 170 to plus 180 is that number on the White Sox. 8 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the White Sox. I did set them at a plus 173. You do have to think that the Shohei Ohtani injury is going to be affecting the Dodgers, as he was on in the lineup yesterday. If he does go in this game, he's probably not going to be 100%. This is still a Dodgers team that's averaging about 6 runs per game away from home, though. So I think these guys are going to be more than fine. You've got a Dodgers lineup that needs to be getting a little bit more out of Kyle Tucker. It's been a little bit of a disappointing season for him, but you just take a look up and down the boulevard at so many of these guys, and you've been able to get good production out of Freddie Freeman, who's been able to give you 9 plus home runs. He continues at above a 270. Andy Paz, along with Max Muncy, both are up to 13 plus home runs apiece, with Muncy about a 360 on base. Paz has been able to about a 270 375. Even Alex Call's a guy that's able to give you a 380 on base. He was subbing in for Mr. Ohtani yesterday. Mookie Betts, still a rough season for him, but overall it is still a nice lineup. And for the Chicago White Sox, they continue to be a top 10 team in terms of run creation, even with having Montaka Murakami out of the fold. As Colson Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, they continue to give you 16 plus home runs apiece. Now for Montgomery, only about a 220 with a 320 on base. Vargas now move the line with about a 375 on base. And you do have guys that are finding way on base. Chase Meadroth has been able to give you about a 355 on base along Tristan Peters. You've got the other Montgomery and Braden Montgomery. Small sample size. He had that walk-off winner a few nights ago. Sam Antonelli has been able to give you 385 on base. You need more of the catcher spot along Luan Acuna, but still, it's been solid for the White Sox. The one fear that you have with this team is the bullpen. They're still in the bottom 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Trevor Richards has been posting up an ERA above a 4. Now, you do have Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson. These guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, but Tyler Davis has been a little bit shaky. Seranthony Dominguez, not a guy that you want to be banking on in this bullpen. And for the Dodgers, they continue to be a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tanner Scott, great. Scott has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Edgar Enriquez got used up yesterday, so you don't have to worry about him. And then have the guys like Alex Vesia, Jack Dreher, who will be able to give you a sub 325 ERA as well. And for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I do think that he's going to be able to go out there, sling a relatively good start for this team. As for Yamamoto, his ERA for his career, about 1.25 points lower when he's away from home rather than at home. He's actually been significantly worse when he's been at Dodger Stadium. Overall for the season, 268 ERA, but closer to 343 fielding dependent. His strikeout stuff is down, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings after it was more like 10.5 strikeouts per 9 the last 2 seasons, giving up 1 home run per 9. That's more hard contact than he's given up in the past. So I'm going to take a shot here on the White Sox because I also like what I've seen of Sean Burke. They might utilize an opener in front of them. The White Sox have been known to do that over the last few seasons, but he's rounded into form with a 388 ERA, closer to 369 fielding dependent, about 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings and less than 1 home run per 9. So do think that 8 is a little bit too low, even with the Ohtani injury. Do like the over. I set my total at an 8.2, and for the White Sox, plus 174 or higher, like the money line. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. The Athletics playoffs to the Rockies as Jeffrey Springs goes for the Athletics, and Kyle Freeland is on the bump for the Rockies. Rockies do find themselves as a Rocky-style underdog between plus 140 to a plus 150. Meanwhile, minus 160 to minus 175. That number on the Athletics with a total between 13.5 to 14 on the 14. Over and under, both are minus 110 on the 13.5. Over is minus 120. Under is even money. And if you're looking at the run line of the Athletics, right around about plus 110 there, I was willing to go up to a minus 126. I'm in on this run line. For Kyle Freeland, he's had a no good, very bad, terrible season for the Rockies as he's given up about 2.1 home runs per 9 innings, and he's got a hearty 7.81 ERA. Now, Jeffrey Springs, since he got to the Athletics, his ERA has been about a full point higher in his home starts rather than his road starts. Recognizes that that's in Sacramento, but I think that applies here. He's been giving up 1.9 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings with a 4.68 ERA this season. But the Rockies, they're a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation away from home this season. For the Rockies, it has been just brutal without Mickey Moniak in the lineup. As Hunter Goodman is the lone guy on the roster that is healthy right now. Give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's been up to 16 plus. Now, they do call up one of their main guys in Cole Carrick. He had a home run in one of his first games since getting called up, so you'd like to see that. But you do have so many guys like an Edouard Julien, throw in there Sterling Thompson, Jordan Beck, Kyle Karros. These guys can get 230 or lower with not a lot of power. And then on the flip side for the Athletics, Shea Langoliers, well, Shea is banged for 16 plus home runs at about a 345 on base. Nick Kurtz, maybe a little bit down with the home run power from past seasons, but 436 on base, one of the best at drawing walks in all of baseball. They get back Jacob Wilson. He's not going to draw any walks, but he's hitting over at 285 for this team. And then you additionally have someone like a Carlos Cortez, who's giving you a 400 base as well. Henry Bolte has been able to do a nice job moving the line for the team as well. For the Athletics, they are in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of opening area, but these guys like Justin Cerner, Luis Medina, Hogan Harris, they've been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Don't trust in Mark Leiter Jr. along with Jose Suarez, but for the Rockies, they're currently dead sinking last in the big leagues in terms of opening area, with Antonio Senzatella actually being solid. He's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but now Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan are on the injured list. You've had Brandon Bernardino give you about a 4 ERA. Seth Halverson has been solid, but Jane Noah, Juan Mejia, they're starting to see some regression. Blas Castanos up above a 390 ERA as well. These mix and match guys just not working out. So I think that the Athletics line base the Rockies, and I just don't know if the Rockies do enough with a 14 total. So my total of 13.1. So I'm in on the under and the Athletics on the run line, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Matt Josephs, aka Major Matt, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, It is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear from this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast, give you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.